Have you ever sat quietly and asked yourself a hard question? What if I stay here forever? Not because your life is bad, not because you are unhappy, but because it is safe. A steady job, a predictable routine, a life where tomorrow looks exactly like today. From the outside, everything seems fine. People respect you. Your family feels proud. Your bills are paid. There is no big danger, no big risk. But deep inside, something feels missing. You feel it late at night when the world is quiet. You feel it on Sunday evenings when Monday is coming again. You feel it when you see someone chase a dream and a small voice inside you whispers, "That could have been me." Most people ignore that voice. They say, "This is realistic." They say, "Dreams are risky." They say, "Maybe later." But what if later never comes? Today's story is not about success. It's not about money. And it's not about fame. It's about a moment, a single decision that separates a comfortable life from an extraordinary one. Long before the world knew his name, before Amazon, before billions of dollars, before changing how humans shop, read, and think, there was just a man sitting with a question in his mind. A man with a safe, respected, high-paying job. A man who had everything most people dream of. And yet, he felt pulled towards something uncertain. He didn't know if he would succeed. He didn't know if people would laugh at him. He didn't know if he would fail completely. But he knew one thing very clearly. The pain of regret might be worse than the pain of failure. This is the story of Jeff Bezos before Amazon, before success was guaranteed, before anyone believed in the idea, when doubt was loud, fear was real, and the future was unclear. As you listen to this story, don't just listen with your ears. Listen with your life. Because somewhere inside this story, there is a lesson meant for you. A reminder that big success often begins quietly, with one brave decision made when no one is watching. Before Jeff Bezos became a name the world would recognize, he was simply a curious child, the kind of child who asked too many questions. He was born in 1964, not into wealth or fame, but into an ordinary family. There were no headlines waiting for him, no signs that the future would place him among the most influential people in the world. What he had instead was something quieter and far more powerful: curiosity. As a young boy, Jeff was fascinated by how things worked. He didn't just use objects, he wanted to understand them. When something broke, he didn't throw it away, he took it apart. Piece by piece, screw by screw. Not because he knew how to fix it, but because he wanted to learn. This habit would stay with him for life. While other children were satisfied with answers, Jeff was obsessed with questions. Why does this work? What happens if we change this? Is there a better way? He spent hours reading books, exploring ideas, and thinking deeply about the future. Science fiction fascinated him, not as entertainment, but as possibility. He didn't see limits the way others did. He saw systems, patterns, opportunities. Even at a young age, Jeff had a unique way of thinking. He thought long-term. Most people think about tomorrow. Jeff thought about decades. When he went to school, he did well, not because he wanted praise, but because he loved learning. Mathematics, science, and logic made sense to him. They felt like tools, not subjects. Tools to build something meaningful one day, even if he didn't yet know what that something would be. He wasn't popular for dreaming big. He wasn't famous for being different. In fact, he was just another student, quiet, focused, often lost in thought. But inside his mind,
something was growing. He believed that intelligence was not just about knowing facts, it was about thinking clearly, about asking the right questions, about understanding the future before it arrives. Later, when he attended university, Jeff chose to study computer science and electrical engineering, fields that were not glamorous at the time. Computers were not everywhere. The internet was not part of daily life. But Jeff saw something others didn't yet see. He believed technology would change everything. Not overnight, not easily, but slowly and completely. Still, at this stage of his life, there was no Amazon, no business plan, no grand vision of selling products to the world. There was only a mindset. A mindset that valued learning over comfort, curiosity over fear, and long-term thinking over short-term reward. Jeff Bezos did not grow up rich, he did not grow up famous, he did not grow up with powerful connections. What he grew up with was the ability to imagine a future different from the present and the patience to wait for it. This is important for you to remember, because greatness does not start with money, it does not start with luck, and it does not start with approval. It starts with how you think, long before the world is watching. After years of studying, learning, and preparing himself for the future, Jeff Bezos did exactly what society tells us to do. He followed the right path. He didn't chase wild dreams. He didn't start a risky business right away. He didn't rebel against the system. Instead, he entered it and succeeded. Jeff began working in the world of finance, eventually landing a prestigious job at a successful investment firm on Wall Street. The kind of job people talk about with admiration, the kind parents proudly mention to their relatives, the kind that promises security, respect, and a comfortable life. And Jeff was good at it. Very good. He quickly rose through the ranks, earning a high salary and gaining the trust of powerful people. His work was intellectually challenging. His colleagues were smart. His future looked stable and bright. From the outside, Jeff Bezos had made it. A high-paying job, a strong career path, a life without uncertainty. This was the dream for most people. So why wasn't it enough? Deep inside, Jeff felt something difficult to explain. His days were full, but his mind felt restless. The work was interesting, but it wasn't meaningful in the way he hoped his life would be. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't fulfilled either. And that difference mattered. Every morning he put on his suit. Every day he did his job well. Every month his bank account grew. Yet quietly, a question followed him everywhere. Is this all? This is the most dangerous question a safe life can create, because once you ask it, you can't forget it. Jeff knew that many people would be grateful for what he had, and that made his feelings even more confusing. How could he want more when he already had so much? But the truth is this: security can feel like success until it starts to feel like a cage. At night, when work was done and the noise of the day faded, Jeff's mind traveled forward in time. He imagined himself years later, older, comfortable, successful. And then he asked himself another question, a much deeper one. If I stay here forever, will I regret not trying? This question didn't come from greed, it came from honesty. Jeff wasn't chasing money, he was chasing meaning. He began to realize something powerful, something most people never fully understand. A safe job can protect you from failure, but it can also protect you from your true potential. Leaving such a position would sound crazy to most people. Why abandon stability? Why give up respect? Why trade certainty for uncertainty? Everyone around him would have said the same thing. Don't risk it. You're doing great. Be realistic. And Jeff knew they would be right, in a way, because walking away from safety is never logical in the short term. But Jeff Bezos was never thinking short term. He was thinking in decades. And soon, something would happen that would turn his quiet questions into a powerful decision.
One ordinary day at work, while reviewing data and trends like he had done many times before, Jeff Bezos noticed something that stopped him completely. A number. The internet, still young and unfamiliar to most people, was growing at an unbelievable rate, 2,300% per year. Jeff stared at the figure, not with excitement at first, but with curiosity. Most people would glance at the number and move on. Jeff didn't. He leaned into it. He questioned it. He imagined what it meant for the future. A growth rate like that wasn't just interesting, it was rare, almost impossible. Opportunities like this didn't appear often in history, and when they didn't last forever. Jeff felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just information, this was a signal. He began asking himself questions that would slowly change his life. What kind of business could exist on the internet? What could people buy online? What problems could be solved? At that time, the internet was slow. Websites were simple. Online shopping was almost unheard of. Most people didn't trust computers with their money. The idea of buying something without touching it felt strange and risky. But Jeff saw past the present. He imagined a future where the internet would be everywhere, where people would use it naturally, where distance wouldn't matter. And then another thought appeared, one that wouldn't leave him alone. Books. Books were perfect. There were millions of them, too many for any physical store to carry. But an online store, that could offer almost every book in existence. No walls, no limits, just choices. The idea felt small, but the future felt huge. Still, excitement was followed quickly by fear. What if he was wrong? What if the internet was just a trend? What if people never trusted online shopping? These questions were heavy, real, impossible to ignore. So Jeff used a tool he would later call his regret minimization framework. He imagined himself at the age of 80, not looking back on success, but looking back on missed chances. And he asked himself one final question. Which choice will I regret less? Trying and failing, or never trying at all? The answer came quietly but clearly. Failure would hurt, but regret would hurt more. Jeff understood something most people avoid. You can recover from failure, but you cannot recover from a life unlived. From that moment on, the idea was no longer just an idea. It became a responsibility, a calling, a challenge he could no longer ignore. The numbers, the timing, the future, everything pointed in one direction. But knowing the right path doesn't make it easy to walk, because ahead of him was the hardest decision of his life, a decision that would ask him to give up safety for possibility. And once you see possibility clearly, comfort begins to feel unbearable. Deciding to change your life in your mind is one thing. Actually doing it is something else entirely. For Jeff Bezos, the idea of starting an online bookstore grew stronger every day. It followed him into meetings. It whispered to him during quiet moments. It refused to stay silent. But between the idea and the action stood fear. Real fear. Fear of losing everything he had worked for. Fear of disappointing people who believed in him. Fear of being remembered as the man who almost made it. Walking away from a high-paying job on Wall Street was not a dramatic moment filled with applause or encouragement. It was quiet, heavy, uncertain. Jeff knew what people would say. "You're crazy. You're throwing away your future. Why risk so much for something so uncertain?" Even inside his own mind, doubt tried to speak louder than belief. What if this fails? What if I can't support myself? What if I ruin my life? These are not weak questions. They are human questions. Jeff didn't feel fearless. He felt responsible. He spoke to his wife, Mackenzie, about the idea. He didn't promise success. He didn't pretend it would be easy. He was honest about the risk. And that honesty mattered. Because belief doesn't mean ignoring fear. It means moving forward despite it. Then came the hardest conversation of all. Jeff walked into his boss's office. A respected leader, a stable company, a clear future. He explained his idea, an online bookstore, selling books on the internet. There was silence, not excitement, not understanding, just disbelief. But Jeff wasn't asking for permission. He was asking for closure. When he resigned, there was no certainty waiting for him, no backup plan, no guarantee that this decision would lead anywhere. He was choosing a future he couldn't see over a present he already had. That moment changed everything. Because once you step away from comfort, there is no turning back. Jeff left behind his salary, his title, his security. He traded them for an empty road and a heavy question. Can I make this work? There were nights when fear returned stronger than ever. Nights when the safety of his old life felt painfully far away. Nights when doubt knocked loudly at his confidence. But each time, Jeff reminded himself of one truth. Comfort delays growth. Risk creates possibility. This wasn't about becoming rich. It wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about honoring the future version of himself, the one who would either thank him or blame him. When Jeff Bezos walked away from his job, he didn't know he was making history. He only knew he was making a choice. A brave one, a lonely one, a necessary one. And this choice would soon be tested by doubt, struggle, and rejection, not just from the world, but from the people closest to him. Because the moment you step outside the safe path, the world starts questioning your sanity. The moment Jeff Bezos left his safe job, the reactions came quickly, and they were not kind. Friends looked at him with confusion. Some smiled politely, but their eyes were full of doubt. Others were more direct. Selling books on the internet? That'll never work. People want to touch books before buying them. These weren't enemies speaking. They were well-meaning people, and sometimes that hurts the most. His family worried deeply. They didn't see a visionary decision. They saw risk. They saw instability. They saw the possibility of failure looming like a dark cloud. They asked reasonable questions. What if no one buys? What if the money runs out? What if you destroy your career? Jeff listened. He understood their fear because he felt it too. But belief is often a lonely place. When you see a future others can't imagine, you walk alone for a while. There's no applause at the beginning, no proof, no success story to point to, only faith and work. Society doesn't like uncertainty. It prefers familiar paths, predictable results, safe choices. When someone steps away from that, they become a target for doubt. Jeff was no exception. People compared his decision to gambling. They called it unrealistic. Some even laughed. But Jeff had learned something important long ago. New ideas always sound foolish until they work. And so, while doubt surrounded him, Jeff focused inward. He stopped trying to convince everyone. He stopped seeking approval. Instead, he asked himself one simple question every day. What is the next small step? Doubt doesn't disappear when you ignore it, but it becomes quieter when you keep moving. Still, there were moments of loneliness, moments when silence felt heavy, moments when he wished someone would say, "I believe in you." But leadership often begins without support. Belief is tested in isolation. Dreams are shaped in quiet struggle. Jeff didn't need everyone to agree. He only needed to believe long enough to build something real. And this is where many dreams die, not because they are impossible, but because doubt becomes louder than vision. Jeff chose differently. He accepted that being misunderstood was part of the journey. He accepted that fear would walk beside him for a while, and he accepted that failure was possible. But regret was not acceptable. Soon, Jeff would leave behind everything familiar, not just his job, but his city, his routine, and his comfort. A new chapter was about to begin, and it would begin in the most unexpected place: a small garage. The idea was clear. The decision was made. But the reality? That was something else entirely. Jeff Bezos didn't open a fancy office with sleek furniture, a receptionist, or a team of assistants. He opened a garage. A small, ordinary garage behind a house in Bellevue, Washington. Its walls were plain, its floors were cold, its desks were cheap tables borrowed from friends. There were no frills, no comfort, no illusion of grandeur, just space to start building. And build they did. Jeff, along with a small team of early believers, worked long hours. Some days started before sunrise. Some nights stretched past midnight. The work was endless: packing books, designing a website, managing orders, troubleshooting technical problems, talking to suppliers. Every task, no matter how small, was done by them. It was far from glamorous. It was far from easy. Imagine standing in a tiny space surrounded by cardboard boxes, piles of books, computers humming, phones ringing, and knowing that every action you take might determine whether your dream survives or dies. And yet there was something electric in the air. The limitations made them creative. The small space made them resourceful. The long hours made them relentless. Every mistake taught a lesson. Every delay revealed a solution. Every small win became a spark of hope. Jeff's vision kept them moving forward. He reminded the team daily of the bigger picture, not the garage, not the struggle, not the exhaustion, the future, the long-term goal, the world-changing idea. This is the magic of starting from nothing. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You don't wait for approval. You don't wait for certainty. You start where you are with what you have. The garage became more than just a workspace. It became a laboratory for dreams, a place where persistence met imagination, a place where small, repeated actions slowly built something larger than themselves. And yet, the work was grueling. Frustrations were frequent. Supplies ran low. Technical glitches tested their patience. Orders piled up faster than they could manage. The financial pressure was real and constant. It would have been easy to quit. It would have been easy to go back to safety. It would have been easy to say, maybe this isn't for us. But they didn't. Because starting small doesn't mean thinking small. Because belief fuels endurance. Because even the largest empires often begin in the humblest places. Jeff Bezos had a vision that extended far beyond the garage walls, and every day, every hour, every task was a brick in the foundation of that vision. From this tiny garage, a global empire would eventually rise. But in the beginning, it was just Jeff, a team of believers, and an unshakable belief in the future. Starting a business in a garage is one thing. Keeping it alive is another entirely. For Jeff Bezos, the early days of Amazon were filled with uncertainty. Every decision carried weight. Every mistake carried consequences. And the pressure? It was relentless. Orders sometimes got delayed. The website crashed unexpectedly. Suppliers didn't always deliver on time. Money ran low. The team often wondered if they could pay the next bill. These weren't minor problems. They were threats to survival. Late at night, Jeff would sit alone, reviewing spreadsheets, calculating the smallest margins, trying to ensure that the tiny flame of his idea didn't die out. Fear was constant. Fear of running out of money, fear of failing publicly, fear of disappointing the people who had believed in him. And yet, amidst the fear, small wins began to appear. The first online order, the first customer compliment, the first positive feedback. Each small victory felt monumental. Every tiny step forward was proof that the dream wasn't impossible,
But Jeff knew better than anyone that success is not a straight line. It's a zigzag of effort, failure, adaptation, and persistence. Mistakes were frequent. Technical glitches could erase hours of work. Financial miscalculations could threaten survival. Competition could appear suddenly, ready to crush a young company. Yet even when faced with failure, Jeff remained focused on the long-term vision. He reminded himself that small steps, repeated consistently, compound into extraordinary results over time. And the team followed his lead. They learned resilience. They learned creativity. They learned to celebrate progress, no matter how small. They understood that fear was natural, but it didn't have to dictate action. This phase of struggle is what separates dreamers from achievers. Many people give up when challenges appear. Many abandon their goals when fear feels overwhelming. Many never experience the quiet joy of witnessing an idea take root and grow. Jeff Bezos, however, treated every problem as a lesson, every obstacle as a teacher, and every small success as a signal that the path, though hard, was the right one. It was in this relentless cycle of fear, failure, and small wins that Amazon began to grow. Slowly at first, almost imperceptibly, but steadily. And with every incremental step, Jeff reinforced a truth that would guide him for the rest of his life. Big success is rarely instant. Big success requires persistence. Big success comes from embracing fear, not running from it. This period taught him, and teaches us, that overnight success is a myth. Behind every headline, every empire, every revolutionary company, there is a story of small actions repeated under pressure, guided by vision and fueled by unwavering belief. And it is here, in the quiet, challenging, exhausting work of building something real, that true leaders are made. As we look back on Jeff Bezos' journey before Amazon became a global phenomenon, there are powerful lessons hidden in every choice he made, every risk he took, and every moment of struggle he faced. These are lessons that go far beyond business. They are lessons about life, courage, and the human spirit. 1. Comfort can quietly kill dreams. Jeff had a high-paying, prestigious job on Wall Street. From the outside, he had made it, but comfort became a cage. The stability, respect, and security he had didn't satisfy his deeper ambitions. Many people never realize that comfort, while safe, can silently stop them from reaching their true potential. Growth almost always requires leaving safety behind. 2. Long-term thinking beats short-term fear. At every step, Jeff thought in decades, not months. He didn't chase immediate rewards or follow what seemed safe or logical in the short term. Instead, he imagined his life years into the future, weighing not temporary fear, but lifelong regret. This long-term mindset allowed him to see opportunities others ignored and take risks they would never dare. 3. Every big success begins small. Amazon started in a tiny garage with a handful of people and limited resources. There were no offices, no teams, no luxury, just belief, persistence, and incremental action. Success rarely arrives fully formed. It starts in humble places, grows quietly, and then eventually transforms the world. 4. Being doubted is part of being different. When Jeff left his secure job, everyone doubted him. Friends, family, colleagues, society. New ideas often feel impossible to those who cannot see the future. Doubt is not a sign that you are wrong. Often it's a sign that you are thinking differently. Those who change the world are frequently misunderstood at first. 5. Fear is inevitable. Action is optional. Jeff didn't feel fearless. He felt doubt, uncertainty, and pressure, but he acted despite it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing action even when fear is present. Every moment he felt afraid was a moment to decide, stay safe or move toward your vision. 6. Small wins build confidence and momentum. The first online order, the first customer email, the first positive review. These small victories fueled perseverance. They showed Jeff and his team that progress was possible. In life, progress is rarely sudden. It comes in steps, small and sometimes barely visible, but each one matters. 7. Vision guides persistence. Through fear, doubt, and uncertainty, Jeff never lost sight of the future he imagined. The garage, the long nights, and the challenges were all temporary because he knew the larger goal. A clear vision acts as a compass when the journey feels impossible. These lessons are not abstract, they are practical. They apply to any dream, any goal, any challenge. Jeff Bezos' story is proof that bravery, persistence, and vision are far more important than luck or privilege. It is proof that ordinary people with extraordinary mindset and action can change their lives, and sometimes the world. And now, the story is not just about Jeff anymore. It is about how you can apply these principles to your own life.
Jeff Bezos' journey from a safe job to building Amazon might feel far away from your life, but the lessons are closer than you think. The same principles that guided him can guide you, no matter your dream, your background, or your fears. Start by imagining your future self. Jeff didn't act impulsively. He imagined himself decades into the future and asked one key question: which choice will I regret less? Try this yourself. Picture your life 10 or 20 years from now. What will you regret, staying in comfort or trying something uncertain but meaningful? 2. Take small but brave steps. You don't need a garage, a team, or millions of dollars to start. What matters is action. Begin where you are with what you have. Write the first page of your book. Apply for the course, make that business call, or practice the skill you've been postponing. Every small step compounds into progress. 3. Expect doubt and criticism. When you pursue a dream, some people will question you. Family, friends, even colleagues may doubt your decisions. That's normal. Don't stop because others cannot see your vision. Learn to differentiate between useful advice and noise and trust your path. 4. Accept failure as part of growth. Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable. Jeff faced financial pressure, technical glitches, and early failures. These moments are not signs to quit. They are lessons that build resilience. Each challenge teaches you something that moves you closer to success. 5. Focus on long-term thinking. Short-term fear is easy to give into. Comfort feels safe today, but it may cost you tomorrow. Think in terms of years, not weeks. Small, consistent, patient actions over time create extraordinary results. 6. Celebrate small wins. Every progress counts. Did you finish that practice today? Did you take one brave action toward your goal? Celebrate it. Small victories keep motivation alive and remind you that your dream is moving forward. 7. Keep your vision clear. Amid struggle and uncertainty, clarity of purpose matters most. Jeff never lost sight of his vision for Amazon. You too need a clear picture of what you want and why it matters. Let that vision guide every decision, every step, every sacrifice. Your dream doesn't have to be as big as Amazon. It doesn't have to change the world, though it can. What matters is that it matters to you. And just like Jeff, you can transform your life by combining courage, belief, and consistent action. Remember, the future is built today. Every choice, every effort, and every brave decision you make adds up. You may feel small now, uncertain now, or even afraid. But every giant journey begins with one step, often the step that feels hardest to take. So ask yourself, what is the one decision you are avoiding because it feels risky? What is the first small action you can take today to move toward your dream? That single step could change your life forever. Let's return to the question we began with. What if I stay here forever? It's a quiet, heavy question, one that most people avoid, one that whispers in the still moments when the noise of daily life fades. But it is the question that separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. Jeff Bezos faced the same question. He could have stayed in his high-paying, secure job. He could have followed the expected path, content with comfort and stability. But he chose differently. He chose uncertainty. He chose fear. He chose action. And that one brave decision didn't just change his life, it changed the world. The story of Jeff Bezos teaches us something simple, yet profound. Big success starts with courage. It starts with stepping out of comfort. It starts with believing in the unseen. It starts with one decision, made in the quiet, without applause, with only hope and conviction. Your life is no different. Somewhere inside you, that question still lingers. Somewhere inside you, there is a dream waiting for a decision. It doesn't matter how small or large it is. What matters is the courage to begin. Imagine yourself years from now, looking back. Will you smile at the life you built, or will you regret the chances you never took? The truth is, fear is temporary. Regret can last forever. Belief paired with action creates change. So take the first step. Make the choice that your future self will thank you for. Act on the idea that excites you and scares you. Because the world isn't changed by those who wait, it's changed by those who dare. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that the life you dreamed of started with one quiet, brave decision, just like Jeff Bezos did. Your journey starts now. Comment below with the one dream you've been avoiding. Share it, name it, begin it. And if you want more stories that inspire courage and growth, subscribe to English Speakcast, where you learn English one story at a time.